Little hello from the off, guys. The podcast starts a bit randomly because I started recording before I was even there, but the guys talked about some funny things and I wanted to leave it in. So if you want to skip that, skip like 1.5 minutes, and then we will go straight into talking about our game and how the planning of such a game works. I hope you enjoy and see you soon. Be right back. 1 second,
Mr.
okay,
Trump,
guys? And then we
will
can
you
start.
support our game? Will you make our
I think
game great
this
again?
game. I think that this game deserves a AAA rating. I support your game.
All right,
Oh, there we go.
that's a word.
Back to Fox News.
I bought a Toblerone today.
Hmm?
I bought a Toblerone. Toblerone.
I have no idea what that is.
The triangle chocolate. I think it's good for the amount you pay for because you always get so much.
Oh yeah.
It's got a chunk of chocolate.
Yeah, they don't have Toblerones in the U.S. I've
What the
never
heck?
seen those.
Really? They
Mhm.
always have them at airports.
Yeah, those are airports though.
Oh, damn. Maybe you guys are taxing it.
Yeah.
Tariffs. Toblerone tariff too high.
Tax them real good.
All right, I'm back.
Troubleshooting it.
We can start if you want, guys.
Okay, Quincy, where have you been? Don't pretend like nothing happened.
Like right now, or what?
Yeah, where have you been?
Right now I was just in the kitchen to grab something to eat.
Okay.
I just put something in the microwave.
Grab that before.
Bro, I just put something in the microwave and got it out, that's all.
You were already making up stories about what happened to you and how you died.
I was already afraid, yeah.
Okay, Consti, please start the recording.
Mm-hmm. It's running already.
Yes. Okay, 3, 2. Okay, I don't think we need to...
All right, editor,
So,
cut out
Maxi.
everything.
No,
So,
no.
Maxi, where do you live?
I live at your mom's house.
Wow.
Nah. All right, then let's head right in. So, how about JD starts with
Okay.
the summary.
Okay. Summary. My summary. Okay.
Yeah. So what if you?
This week I was tasked to make a boss in the game.
Mhm.
So what I did was I drew some sprites in A Sprite. I made it with a couple frames of animation, and I made a little boss text sheet. So I specified its spells and stuff. I tried to make some of the spells ranged and some spells melee. If you wanted variety. And I'm still currently implementing them into the game. Like I've made a state machine, which is I think it's a pretty good state machine because you could use it for anything. It kind of works modularly because you can add spells or like you can add abilities to any enemy or any person, any NPC with a state machine, and all you need is to write the conditions of when the states change, and you gotta attach the animations to it, and you can reuse the actual logic itself. And I'm just currently testing it still. Like I've done like 2 out of 6 spells, but mostly I was focused on making a good state machine to begin with. I think the state machine is getting there. Like it's pretty much finished. It's a pretty good one. I can't really think of many scenarios where this state machine fails to be a generic one.
Wait, what did you say?
Also, I don't see where this state machine I created. It doesn't. I don't think it fails anywhere. I haven't found out anywhere it fails. I've always currently I've found a workaround. It's good that we started on the boss because I could test which things the state machine originally failed on. If I made it on a simple enemy, it's very hard to find out where it fails.
Yeah, I guess it's also pretty hard to make something fail that bad. So to get something to an unrepairable state if you're doing it in code. So that's a good thing.
Uh,
But then again,
thing
we
with my code-
probably have to reiterate on why you are doing a new state machine, why you are not using the existing Unity state machines. What's your at least give your personal reasoning behind it?
Okay, firstly, I don't really like using the animator. I think having transitions is okay for small things, but when you want to have a lot of things happen at once, it's kind of difficult to see what the transitioning is to. It's so much easier to see in code because I can make it within logic. Otherwise, you're just turning off and on different triggers or booleans.
So you're not talking about the transition itself. You're talking about the way it is displayed in the editor.
Yeah, that's there's multiple reasons I didn't use it. Another reason is there was a Reddit forum which I was reading. Like when I was originally gonna use it, but then at the same time, I don't really trust like the Unity system. I've heard like a lot of people are saying they run into issues
I mean, how old were
with using
those
it.
posts?
No, it was only 4 years ago. It was quite a new post.
Only 4 years. It's a while ago.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the
that's
system's
a
been
lot
in
of
the game
time.
for ages.
Yeah, but
But
what
was your
version of Unity were they using?
Probably the last version. It didn't.
so when we started with the game, you wanted to use Unity instead of Godot, even though you knew about these things, even though you knew about, or even back then, you didn't trust Unity.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
why?
don't trust Unity on
Why would you?
everything.
Okay, so you're of the opinion that some things they're doing good and some things they're doing
Mhm.
bad. Okay, and so what is Unity doing good?
The engine's quite performant. There's a lot of things you could do shaders on. I think so. I think it's a good engine overall. It has everything you need.
Okay, so there's two reasons
Wait, why are we
basically.
talking about this?
No,
Why are
I'm
we
just
talking about
I'm
this?
just trying to figure out your reasoning behind doing this. Again, because there's already a capability to do state machines in Unity, and I'm pretty convinced that at some point we're switching back to them. But I just want to know your reasoning and then challenge it,
Mhm.
so that we come to that point, so that we come to that conclusion earlier. The earlier, the better, I
Mhm.
guess. But maybe also to give you the chance to convince me earlier, so that I'm convinced of your idea. If it is
Mhm.
really better, I'm a fan of doing things the better way. So if your idea is better and you convince me, that's also fine.
Another reason I chose not to use the what's it called, state machine in Unity is because when I've used it before, it's just not that fast. Like, I think I've had performance issues with it, and it's a bit strange. But I don't know, I've just found it very strange to use sometimes. I mean, it's okay if you're doing small like trees, and you have a couple transitions, but when you get a lot of them, you will struggle. I think you'll realize that it's difficult to use. That's why
Mhm.
my state machine, I could literally onboard anyone because it's so simple to use. Like, and having the control to understand like why is it breaking, I think it's so much better than just relying on the Unity thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
Okay.
mean,
Because I know
I
exactly
guess
what is happening.
the animator doesn't have a lot of stuff you can modify at runtime. It's a lot of hard-coded stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a downside.
What is hard coded in the animator? What are you talking about?
Like you can't modify much of the transitions. You can really there's not a lot of setters in any of the animator components. It's just a lot of getters. So you can get a bunch of information um, from the transitions, the clips, and all that, but you can't really set it during runtime. It's really
Yeah.
only.
Yeah, so I've encountered one of these issues where I tried at one time to access the current state, and that turned out to be a challenge, even though it should be simple. So
Yeah.
what they did is they have a function that's like is I can't recall the exact name of the function, but it was something along the lines of is in state, and then you give a name of the state as parameter, and so you could check for a very specific state. So you could check if the player is, for instance, jumping, but you couldn't really, or at least I didn't find a function that allowed you to directly give back the player's state, for instance, or to give back any animated object's state. And that was
Right.
that was kind of strange. But I also had the feeling in between sessions that I kind of found out why that is. It's just that I don't remember right now.
He did find out.
Yeah. I think there is at least a reason for it. Maybe I'll remember next time. I'll be working lots more with the animator. I will have worked lots more with the animator by then. So let's see. All right, but that's okay. So you did the animation system. Do you want to give us a showcase of it real quick so that Konsti and Liam know
Okay.
about it and how it works?
Let me turn off my music because I'm pretty sure that's gonna get copyright strike.
Mhm.
I'll open Unity. Me and Liam also discovered the epic power of Bezier curves. You guys, have you used Bezier curves before?
What?
Bezier curves.
No.
So I didn't realize how you can make anything with Bezier curves. Like you can make anything move in any direction like smoothly. It just
Okay.
depends how many points there are in the curve. So basically it works by interpolating between multiple points. Like the more points you interpolate, the smoother, or like the more points you can like go around.
Couple images in the
Yeah.
general.
It's so good. Like you can make it go anywhere. And I had to implement this thing where I had to land on the player, but I was thinking of I didn't realize I only found out about them today. Well, not today, like yesterday. So I decided to just implement a static function that anyone can use for the Bezier curve. Let me share my screen.
But pretty much it just works by lerping a lot. You just have a lot of lerps that pretty much increase exponentially with every point
Yeah.
you add.
Probably slurping, right? Because if you're lerping, that is linear interpolation. That means that you're not really easing into the different points, but rather
Right.
have a straight movement between them. While when you're using slurp, that is something like parabolic movement, which is you're easing. I would describe it as, I'm not sure if that's correct, but I would describe it as easing into the different points.
Well, but the Bezier curve uses multiple lerps to
Yeah.
get in to get like the curve that slurp
Yeah,
uses.
sure. Are you talking about the curves you create when you use the curve window in the animator?
No.
No,
Should I show you
no,
a demo actually?
yeah, the Bezier curves was for the actual gameplay.
What do you
Okay.
mean?
How the enemies move for one of the attacks that JD made.
Oh, okay. So, but they're still animated, right? So the curves they apply for, even though, for instance, you're talking about moving a fist somewhere because it's punching, you would still you even though you could model the movement as a Bezier curve, you would probably use this. You would probably implement this model by using the animator.
So the reason why I need this system is because the animator works when you have the same location you need to go to every single time. However, if it's a dynamic location, you would have to have something to calculate where it should move. So
That's right. True.
yeah. So, well, in theory, I haven't used like the potential of the 4 points. I've only used 3 to make a little arc. But it's really useful. I don't really have the script. Wait, actually, I think I have the script. I don't remember if I still have it. Let me see if I can enable this. I can show you a little bit. It's really interesting, this Bezier curve thing. Let me see if it's still working here. Oh, wait, give me a second. Definitely need the camera. Actually, no, I don't even need that. I just need the scene. Okay. Do you see this? Wait,
You're not
Yeah,
sharing?
yeah,
Are you sharing?
we can see it.
am I sharing?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you are
we see
sharing.
it.
I'm just
Okay.
not watching.
No, we see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Let me get rid of this. Let me make it loop. So this is a little test. Well, this is a little test scene to show you what Bezier curves are. Here we go. Okay, so as you can see on screen, there is 4 black squares. So one of the squares where it's coming from is the starting point, and then there is an ending point. So they're all labeled from A, B, C, D. So if I wanted this thing to be started here, let me make it a bit slower. It's quite fast. Actually, it doesn't matter. So then it will travel to B, and then it will have influence from all of these. So I could make this go anywhere I want, and it will travel smoothly. So that's essentially the reason to use Bezier curves, because you could arrange these however you want. You can make it go in a crazy movement like this. It's really useful when you want dynamic movement in game. Like you can make it any shape you want with 4 points.
Yep.
With any
Looks
amount
nice.
of points.
Yeah.
Name an example of what you would like to implement with Bezier curves.
You could I'll give you an example I was thinking earlier. You could do a crazy attack pattern. Imagine you had a enemy that has to shoot a bullet or something, and you wanted to attack the enemy. I mean, attack the player, but you want to do it in a way where it's like interesting. So imagine this was a projectile, but you had another thing interpolating between these, so it would look like this. So now it's interpolating up and down, and then maybe you could have a rotation. You could do an infinite amount of, like, you could do a loop de loop. Like that's a crazy attack pattern. Um, so there's an infinite amount of ways you could do this, really.
Okay, so your idea would be that we could use these Bezier curves and, for instance, animate the source and the influencer points, so that when you shoot a bullet or do something comparable, then through the animation of these points that influence the curve, you could get an effect like the one you're showing, right? So it's like it's kind of looking like a sine curve now.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could do, yeah. You could do this. There's so much potential with Bezier curves, and it's so simple. Like all you need is 4 points. The math underneath is easy.
Yeah.
At least 3. You could also do it with 3. The minimum is
You
3.
could do it with 3, but I would use 4 to get to any shape.
Concept,
I would
what
say
do you think of that?
It looks awesome. Looks cool. I'm sure we can use it for something interesting. Or I
Mhm.
mean,
All you need is 4 points.
I think the attack thing
3
could be a cool thing. Yeah. The
yeah,
attack pattern.
3 points would be for a simple just arc, like a quadratic function, and then if you want something more complex, and just use 4 more.
Have you
Well,
okay? So
But is
one
it like
question
for?
is,
Yeah, I have also a question. But you go first, Max.
so one question seems really important to me is that if I imagine the movement you just showed, again approximating a sine curve, why would I prefer using Bezier curves and setting these different influencer points when I could just use a sine curve?
Because we're not just talking about a sine curve. You're talking about any curve. You don't have
Yeah.
some curves are very hard to reproduce unless you do it
The
with
the thing I'm
nodes.
the thing I'm thinking of right now is that for any type of movement I would like to create, I can immediately imagine immediately imagine a function graph that I want to achieve for the movement to be able to be realized, right? So for instance, let's take the damage blinking. So I've just implemented that the player blinks when they take damage. And the way that works is you're basically interpolating the alpha value of the sprite so that it
Okay.
becomes invisible and then visible and then invisible again, and in a very quick manner. So over a time period of 1 second, it fades in and out of the screen, you could say. And now, if I want to implement this with a function, it's very simple. There's a name for this type of function. It's a triangular curve, which is basically just like a sine curve, just that it's linear and not easing in and out into the different maximum and minimum points. So even though that in case you haven't heard of the type of the function, it's pretty easy to imagine the graph that you want something that goes up to a specific maximum and then goes down to 0 again, and then it looks kind of like a triangle, right? But with the x-axis, right? And you want to repeat this pattern. So this is the way you would do it. You would find a function that does exactly this, has a graph that goes up and then down and then forms a triangle with the x-axis, and then does that periodically. And this is the name of this is a triangular curve, and it's the formula for that is on Wikipedia. So it's not even hard to get to the formula. You just need to know what you're looking for. But if I try to imagine how I would realize this with the Bezier curves now, there's a whole different story. Because first of all, I would have to get a feeling of how setting different points would influence the function, and I guess that with some practice, that's going to come very intuitively. I'm not really disregarding that fact. But what I'm disregarding is that, or what I think is going to be a problem, is that what if you have a situation where you want to reach very specific points, like say you want the bullet to alternate between a y value, so the y value of between 1 and -1, for instance. It's going to be hard to adjust that via the Bezier curve points, because you have no frame of reference. You have no ruler lying next to these points, so you even know what 1 centimeter is in that measurement. And what if and so that's going to be a problem, because the question could be, well, why do we want to do that? Why don't just judge it based on what we see, right? Well, for instance, sometimes you want to model a cliff that you can never really come across with a normal jump, but you want the player to try, because it's always very, very close. It's like how they did it in, what's the name of that game, of that platformer game where that was really Hollow Knight. There's some jumps in Hollow Knight, for instance, you can't do with the normal jump. You will need some abilities for it, but it's really close if you try to get over to the other side. And so people would try, and that's also part of the fun, right? Just trying and seeing what happens. And so for that, you would have to be able to model a jump that is exactly, let's say, 7 tiles wide, or 5 tiles wide, or n tiles. It's free. You're free to choose the amount of tiles, but I think you get the idea. So you need a Bezier curve for a jump that is exactly 3 tiles wide, for instance. And I guess it's kind of hard to do that, especially with the way you're presenting it right now without rulers.
Okay, but I'm confused why you're asking this, because you could have more influence, like you could multiply these influence points to have it influence heavier on a certain position if I made more nodes. But the purpose isn't for that. Like if I want a really accurate math equation and I wanted to reach this exact height, I would do it another way. Like the point of Bezier's curves is that you make things smooth. You can have anything and make it smooth or like
Yeah.
natural looking.
Okay, I see
If you
your
want-
argument. So
Be-
if you want something exact, you could always use a different approach. But for something that doesn't have to be exact, you could easily just use that and be done with it quicker.
Yeah, it's very rare that you even want something to be exact. Like I can't imagine many instances where this thing has to be exactly like this. It would. Why can't you do it by feel? Even if you were making like a platformer and you have to make it a certain height, you could always adjust how this looks to get that height. To because it's always gonna be the same.
Mm.
But it's very rare that you would do this the first time. It's all about feel. Like with animations, it doesn't really matter how accurate it is. It's all about feel, and I think Bezier gives anybody the ability to make something look good, like with like minimal effort. You just trial and error.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. Well, I don't really support that fact. I think that's just wrong because I've had that problem with the move animations, for instance. So when I designed the move, the moving the movement of the legs, when I designed it to make the standard movement, I judged it by the eye first, and then when I tried it, I found out that it looks kind of irregular, and that was because, well, I always positioned the legs after my own, like after my best judgment, and then on my second try when I did it again, I did it in a way where I just modeled one side of the, like one leg, or let's say the right leg moving forward and the left leg moving backward. And then for the other movement where the left leg is coming forward and the right leg is coming backward, you could just use the values you already modeled before that. You could just reuse these and then have a movement that is exactly balanced, or that looks exactly balanced. And I think that there's going to be many, many more instances of something like that, because most of our entities in the game, they have symmetric limbs, and so that would just make lots of sense to me. But again, as I'm thinking about this, it's probably a good idea to do a mixture of both. So whenever it's needed to be exact, whenever we need it to be exact, we could always just ditch the Bezier curves for that specific case and do something else, right? So it's probably a good addition. I wasn't for it at the beginning, but I think right now, seeing it how it is, it's probably just a good addition.
it's just another method to do something. Like
Yeah,
it's just
true,
a tool.
true.
Like
Yep.
I want to talk about a bit how I've done this the state machine system. Because if I can show you how I did it, and if you understand it, that means it's pretty good. Okay,
Mhm.
so all I need for my state machine is I need the state machine brain. So which is every enemy has a state machine. This will be custom to the enemy. It could also be like copy pasted from another enemy if you really want it, but it'll be a bit confusing if it has a different name. The reason you need a you need a specific script for each enemy is because you want to know how each thing transitions. So each enemy will have different states. This is what my state machine looks like. So as you see on one side, this is going to be my phase 1 of my enemy, and this is going to be phase 2, depending on how much HP the enemy has. So if I want the enemy to go between these two states, I'll have to say where the idle can go. I'll have a list of like the prioritization of like, oh, it should do this ability first, or it should do this ability first, depending on how important it is. It could also be random. It depends what your logic is. But this method is good because you don't need any transitions. You don't need any of these transitions because you will play them depending on the state machine. So I can show you how I've implemented that. So firstly, you need the names for the animations. You just have to get the names. So this is really quick and easy because you can just go into your animation list in I made a thing called NPCs. So it would literally be function 2 and then copy it into here. So you copy exact. It's really quick. And then you need the state themselves. So every single animation should be a state. Or any ability should be a state. So if the enemy waits, then it should be a waiting state. And then you need cooldowns and timers. I don't need to use every single one of these. I haven't finished this, so I just included every single one. But depending on what you need, you just have your cooldowns here. And then you need to get the scripts. So every single state, well, I call them more like tasks. So every single state is on the state object attached to the enemy. So you can easily see what this enemy does by just clicking state. So you're like, oh, this has the stomp on player state. Oh, this can idle. This can wait until an animation finished. So it gives you an idea of what's happening. The reason I chose to do this instead of a script that you can't see is because you can edit the values of each parameter. So, for example, if you want the thing to idle, sometimes it can idle infinitely, and sometimes you want it to idle for a certain amount of time. So this script is really good because you can drag on any enemy and you can adjust like, oh, I want this to idle max time 70 seconds or something. But since the boss, I'm going to turn that off because I don't want it to idle infinitely. It should never idle infinitely. Okay, so after that, you have to set the animations. So this is pretty simple. You could copy and paste this. It's just whether the state is equal to the current state, and you just play the animation. And the next set is, and the most important part of this is the triggers. So you can ignore this bit. This bit's just for simplicity. So, for example, if I want my idle state, if I'm in my idle state and I want to go to another state, so here's what I check. So I want to know if the HP is below 50. I will change state to idle 2, which is my second phase. Or if my ability is off cooldown, I'll change it to this state. Or if my other ability is off cooldown, I'll change it to another state. And that's all you do. For some states, it's even easier. Some states is like a continuous chain. So, for example, this one, if this state's finished, I just change back to the idle state, and the idle state will handle what's going to happen. So if you think about it, it's like this, but I would understand what's exactly happening. You would not, if you have like 100 spells or whatever, I could easily understand what's going on with these functions.
In the end of any state, you go back to the idle one, or like
It depends
most of
on
the
what
time?
you want.
Okay.
Because I want mine to go back to idle. I've just
Yep.
chosen that, but you can really go to any state. So you can see how this is like simple. This is all you need to do. This script is the only thing that you need to change for any single enemy. You just got to do this, and it's pretty self-explanatory. The only other thing you have to do is actually make the functionality of each state. So
Yep.
if I wanted my enemy to be idling, I need to make that state. So I already made the state here. So it may look like a decent amount of code, but it's really not, because everything is made abstract. So if this stuff wasn't here, you just made a completely new state. You'd right click this, go to quick refactorings and do this. And then here you go, you have a template for whatever you need. And you can adjust whatever you want. So for idle state, all I have to do is wait. Like idling is literally doing nothing. So all I have to do is set a timer. Maybe there isn't a timer. Maybe it waits forever. That's when the triggers here. So if it's waiting forever, I need somehow to change state, and this is how you change the state. And this script is reusable for any single enemy. Yeah, is there any questions?
You forgot to mention the base classes.
There is base classes, but like you shouldn't really need to care about them. They don't have that much. Like it only has some useful things. I didn't try to bloat this piece of code for no reason.
Mhm.
Yeah, there isn't that much in the base classes. It's just to simplify things.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it looks good.
Yep.
We
Nice.
should try it sometime.
Currently I haven't found any issues with it. The only thing I could see as a concern is making the states is I don't know, it's just a different way of thinking. Like the only thing that exists in the state is what it does. Like you don't really care about anything else. You just care about what's happening to the NPC or whoever's using the state. Like that's all you care about, and you don't really
Yep.
need to know anything else. You don't need to know how it changes states. You don't need to know which states it go to, like which states it starts at. Like you don't really care. It's really simple, and I think that's also a positive to people who are making the abilities, because you could do anything with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
I'm sure we have to try it out maybe on some more NPCs these weeks, and then we will see if
Mhm.
it works nicely. But
Yeah,
looks
right.
nice. It looks good. Okay, Max, do you want to continue? I don't know with your stuff, what you did this week. If you're done, JD, I think you're done, right?
Oh yeah, I'm done.
All right.
I haven't finished the boss, so I'm halfway through it, but I can pretty much finish it today, I think.
Is it still
Yeah,
buggy like
I'm still-
yesterday, JD? You still
It
have
wasn't bugging. I just didn't finish making the states. It was
okay.
it was basically going to a new state that I haven't made.
So
It
it was
wasn't bugging. I
idling.
was just still testing out stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
How about Liam goes next?
Okay. Let's go, Liam.
Okay. Yeah. I did the sprite blinking and fade out. And they're linked to the actual events, and I just did it through the animator because it was pretty simple, and not a lot of coding needed to be done for it.
Sure.
I did experiment with the behavior scripts for the transitions just to see if I could like modify a bunch of stuff at runtime, but that did not turn out so well. So pretty much how it works. Well, I'll just show you how it works. We have the simulate damage. We just blink, and this can be the length of the blinking has to be hard coded, at least for now. By
How is it hard coded?
changing. Yeah, because the way I made the clip was I just made the blinking clip like 1 second long. I can change that, and then so there's two ways I was thinking of making the clip. Either they both include having just some base duration that is changed in the animator, either through the exit time, which can't be changed at runtime, or during the speed of the animation, which I think can, but I haven't tried. And the exit time, what the exit time is it pretty much multiplies the clip number by or the clip length by the exit time, and then it loops that many times as it's transitioning out. So this if it took this transition, the player blinking the clip would execute twice and then go to exit. And then if it took this transition, it would literally follow this path. It would
So
play
did I get
once
it?
and then transition out.
Did I get it right that you are currently trying to extend the time this animation takes by adjusting the exit time?
Yes, yeah, that is one method. The other method would be to just make this super long and then or make the clip itself super long, and then just modify the speed during runtime as needed. If we wanted to make like the player blinking clip last differently based on how much damage they took or what kind of damage they took.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another way that is similar to the one you just presented, which is that's at least how I do it, because I think it's really hard. It's really easy to think your way into this. So I'm trying to model my animations so that they're just 1 second long, and then use a speed of 1 and set a multiplier. So
Okay.
through the multiplier, you can basically set the length of the animation, because if you have a speed of 1 and the animation has a length of 1, and you set a multiplier of 10, then the animation will be extended to 10 seconds. And so
Okay.
the frames will be adjusted accordingly, so that the whole animation also takes 10 seconds. Whereas when you are using the exit time, you will always have to model the animation in a way where when it replays, it doesn't look like it replays, right? You can always
Right.
you can always just model that way. You can always just model animations that will do the same every time, and don't really, or let's say that you can always just use it with periodic modifications on the animation, I guess. But that way you can use any animation, and with the multiplier set its length accordingly. And the other thing too is that through setting the parameter option, you can always just create a parameter for your multiplier and set the multiplier via code in a very simple way.
Okay, yeah. I'll check that out because that would definitely be very useful and very modular.
Yeah, I already did that with the moving. I see that you have my scene open, right?
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
added onto your scene.
Is it in the latest revision?
It was from yesterday. I pulled it down yesterday.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't push anything after
Okay.
that. So maybe you could show what I did too, because
Okay.
I'm still on an old laptop and it would probably break. So probably a good idea to have you show that. But again, so you had two tasks, right? The first one was doing the
Right.
damage blinking, and then the fade out when you're dying.
Yeah. So the fade out was pretty much I used the animation curve to just decrease the alpha value from 1 to 0 over the course of 1 second, and
Yeah. All right.
it just pretty much looks like that. And yeah, that was so one thing was that after the clip ends, the alpha value gets reset. So what I tried to do was, oh, you can't see that. Add a behavior script that would permanently set the alpha value to this is just how it works. And it was working yesterday. I don't know why it didn't do the same today. But I also made one for the blinking, just that would check if the health was 0 and then just automatically transition to the fade out as well. I was just testing the behaviors here. You
Yeah.
see how that
Okay.
work, and then yeah.
One suggestion I have, it's up to you if you consider it. What I really liked is the death fade out they used in the Mystery Dungeon game series. And I think that the way they did it, if I recall it correctly, is that when the creature died, it would first of all immediately change to an alpha value of say 0.7.
Mhm.
So immediately do a hard jump, so that you from that point on you immediately know, okay, something's up, and then it would fade out until the end, right? So
Oh,
instead of
so
fading out from 1 to 0, it would probably it would start at 0.7 and then fade out.
okay, so it'd
So
be
that
like kind of like a pause.
yeah, that makes it I think the why they did it is because it makes it easier for the player to find out the exact moment when the death happened. Because
Okay,
if you're
yeah.
fading from 1 to 0 over time, then it would probably take some more time for the player to figure out that something's up. Whereas when you're immediately jumping to another alpha value that's drastically lower than before,
Hmm.
then it would probably be easier.
Okay. Oh yeah, that actually, yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
But it's a small thing, right? It's a minor thing. You don't it's something we would configure at the end of the well, we would configure in the 1 or 2 weeks before release probably, because we don't know yet if that makes sense for the game. Maybe at some point we find out that we want to do the dev completely differently.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
that I just wanted to add this as a suggestion. Maybe if you have the time and you like doing the animations, or you want to get some more practice, that would be a good way to do it, probably, to approach it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'll yeah.
All right.
That
Thanks,
does
Jim.
sound like a good idea. Yeah.
Then please go ahead and show my additions.
Okie dokie.
So I've created this combat scene. Usually the idea was to already have a boss enemy in there, but I didn't finish drawing it, and so it's not there. But the first thing I did was basic movement. So there's 3 things I wanted to implement. First one was sprinting, or in moving in general, and then sprinting. And then second thing was, yeah. Wait, why is it so laggy? Is that your PC?
Oh, it's because I have it set to better text readability,
Okay.
which tanks the FPS. That should be better.
Yes.
Yeah,
Perfect.
much better.
Okay.
Yeah. So
What's the
one of the things I wanted the mechanic to support is that when you are moving right and you're pressing the left button while still having the right button activated, I wanted the player to immediately move left instead of stopping. That's the usual the way it's usually implemented. Because if we want to make a fast-paced game, then the player is probably switching buttons really fast. And so situations like where you actually want to move left, but you still have your finger on the right button and you're moving it just after that, could happen. And when these things happen, the player will stop for a short second, and that will look pretty odd and feel very, very unfluent, right? And so I wanted the player to, with a button press, immediately determine the direction the player character is moving into. And so this was one of the things I paid attention to when designing the movement. Then there is sprinting, which just makes the movement faster and also makes the animation faster. But why is there no animation showing?
I don't know.
probably not the
Is it?
latest?
Is it?
Maybe.
Where is it supposed to be attached? The
It's supposed to
animations.
be attached on the Tekken
The,
player.
this
Does it have the animator?
right here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's probably an older version, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So I just designed a movement a movement animation, and it would also go quicker when you're sprinting. So hold shift, and we can see the sprint. And then there's also jumping space. Wait,
It's bound to W right now.
it's bound to W.
Yeah. And L and S.
Wait, what? Did you just rebind the keys?
I did not rebind anything. I don't know how that happened.
Wait,
No, I'm talking about jumping. Press space.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't rebind anything. I didn't touch any of the
Yeah,
keybinds.
then press space. Let's see.
did you
It throws this null reference error.
double click it? Where's it go to?
This guy.
Um.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I know why this is. Okay, go back to your hierarchy.
Mhm.
Have a look at the player, and then on the player define a game object that by the name visual offset.
Create one.
Yeah, create one. Create an empty one, and then rename it to visual offset with a space in between.
Any capital letters?
Yeah, sentence case. And then basically put all the other objects below that child's.
Oh, I see. No.
Do you still get the reference error?
Yeah, it's still being thrown. Maybe reload this scene.
No. Go back to your code and check that. It's probably a good idea to just get the latest version. I think that there has been comments since you took the last version because it's working for me. Let's see.
Whoops. It says up to date. Oh
Okay.
yeah, I'm on. Wait, hold on.
Maybe I just didn't push the last couple of commits, but I will have done that by tomorrow. So, and you could look this up tomorrow if you want to.
Yeah, I'll just merge it back. I just realized.
Are you guys working on the same scene?
No. Well, yes, but I'm on a different branch, so
So you
Yeah.
guys are not
I
going
just
to be able to merge
realized
anything.
that's probably why. That's probably why I'm not up to date. Because I pulled it down and then branched out.
Let that be my problem, JD. I'll merge it.
No. You won't be able to if you're working
Yeah,
on the same
I
scene.
will see. I will see if I won't be able to merge it if that happens. Did you pull in any changes? No.
No. Okay.
Okay, never mind. Just look it up
Maybe
tomorrow.
maybe pull from your branch because you made a different branch.
This is the last commit
We
here.
don't need to waste time fixing this now. It's just
Yeah.
let's just maybe at the end I'll reconnect and then I'll show it on my PC. Okay, but I implemented. Okay, so I implemented jumping via space, and then I also implemented dashing. Maybe that works via right click. Try that.
Yep.
Yeah,
that
at least
works.
dashing works. Okay, so dashing is just very quick movement into the direction of your mouse. And oh yeah, okay, so I see it still has that one bug, but I fixed that already. Where when you move while you dash, the force that was applied to you for the dash is never reset, and so you're automatically
infinite
moving
power.
in one direction even if you're still. Yeah, but I already fixed this in a later commit. All right, and
Okay.
then there is. Wait, is there anything else? I think. Oh yeah, and then I implemented a mechanic for damaging things. So that works just with it extends the physics system where you can give a component to a game object that's called living being, and it has all living beings. They have a value for health and a value for defense. And then I created, I think it's called a hurt box or something like that. No, it's called a damage dealer component, and the damage dealer component defines a I think it's just a damage value. Yeah, no, a force value, right? And so I thought of a way to compute the damage that is being done, so that it looks a little bit like games I know and games I like. First thing I did is implement that the damage can vary between different values, which means that if your damage is, say your damage is you're doing 30 damage, I don't want the player to be doing exactly 30 damage every time. It should vary in a way, and that should be dependent on luck, or at least, yeah, it should be dependent on luck. And so I let the value vary between -10 and 10, so that in effect you could have the value, so that you could just have different values, even though you're doing a very specific damage amount. And I think that's about it. Oh yeah, and the defense too. The defense value will hold against the damage you're dealing, and yeah, there's an equation for that. I think I put the equation in Jira. I also implemented it in code. But it's probably hard to know what's happening just from the code, because the equations aren't very expressive, I would say. So yeah, I think I also explained this in the corresponding ticket in Jira. But yeah, so everything's set up for doing fights, because there's hit and hurt boxes. You can actually give these to game objects, and when they get in touch, when they collide, then damage will be done. We also have the animation that should be played when damage is being done. We have a death fade. We have and that's probably all we need to be able to put together boss fights and put together fights in general, right? So that's really good. We kind of achieved our goal, except for the fact that I didn't finish drawing the boss and also didn't finish animating the boss. But the goal was to be able to put together boss fights at the end of the week, and I think we kind of reached that.
Yeah.
So yeah, very
You kind of
positive.
only have to merge both of your things. Like, I mean, maybe the stuff from JD, and then also your two things, like from Liam and Max.
Yeah.
Mine is already in, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to do this today so that I'm better prepared. As you can see, I'm very shitty prepared today, but I didn't find the time today. I will do it for the next week though. So next week there's going to be more to show.
All good.
Right.
I think it was good.
I think this week we could get a boss fight going between the player.
Yeah.
And then you could even incorporate my boss as
Wait,
well.
actually, do we have a health stat? Yeah, you said you have a health stat, right, Max?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But we don't have it displayed yet, right? We don't have any UI or something.
We have no game UI, but you can display the health, or you can view the health through the inspector.
Okay. Or we could just yeah, okay. I mean, maybe for
It's
the
just not in
beginning.
the game yet, the other side.
Yeah, maybe for the beginning we can just display a number. You know, so we see it in game, I guess. For the beginning.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Then we don't have to design a health bar.
That's right. I previously thought of ways to display a health bar, but I think the point you're making is really good. We don't need the health bar right until the end. We just need to see what the health is.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be pretty right now, right? Let's not lose time doing it, making it pretty right now, when we could just do that right before release, or right before release of the prototype. Okay.
Yeah.
Kotzi, what did you do this week?
Yeah, my week was shit. I didn't do shit. Like, not much at least. I mean, in the beginning of the week, I think I mentioned to you, Max, I have the marketing strategy thing, like kind of like a part 1 thing. Like, it's not completely done yet, so I don't think it's ready for showing. So I will show you next week probably when it's completed. And
Okay.
yeah, but then that I think I just gave, like, I just talked with JD and Liam a bit yesterday, and I think I saw you stuff, just like, let's say I did a small reviews, but yeah, nothing big this week. I literally had no time.
Wait. We also talked about the endings.
Yeah, but I think this was last week, right? I mean, we did it
I think it was
in
the
the.
start of this week. I don't remember.
No, I think we did it in the meeting last week.
Oh,
It was
no,
very
it was
long.
just me, you, and Maxi.
Huh.
Yeah, I think that was the
It
meeting
wasn't
you
part
guys
of the
had on
meeting.
Monday.
It was definitely this week.
I was not there.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember. So Liam, we kind of agreed on 3 different endings we want in the game. Maybe Consti, you could summarize them.
Okay, but I think I don't remember all of them perfectly. But okay, you have to interrupt me if something is wrong. So, the idea is that we have, or actually, should we say it now in the recording?
Yeah, we could always just censor it in the end, or just cut it off. It's the last thing we do.
It's a spoiler
beep,
warning if you don't want to hear the end. So I mean the general idea was that we have different endings, and that they differ. I mean from the story a lot, but like from the gameplay slightly. And one was like we have kind of like a good, a bad, and like a neutral ending. So okay, the good ending I think was that you're gonna be part of the fractions, one of the 7, right? We said 7 fractions, I think, and you try to stop the government, right, guys? Because they want to steal like the sun, because I think the hook was that the sun is running out.
Yeah.
Right? And that the government kind of like doesn't want to share it with the others.
Yeah, right.
And so you make the government stop. That's one. And the bad one is where you like you're part of the government and you steal the sun from the others. And the neutral one is
Become the
that
new
you just like quit, like you're just leaving this galaxy and you go to another one. And the hook, the funny thing, because we want to have like the possibility maybe of like a new game plus, or that you can continue playing after the story ends. And the idea is if you choose the neutral path, then you kind of come like in a copy of the same galaxy, but it's like weird. Like we thought about like maybe everything, like all the sprites are upside down, or the color is different, or I don't know, like some stupid thing.
That would be cool.
And in the good and in the bad one, you can just continue to play. But I think in the bad one, there's kind of like the problem that the other fraction, or like the other planets could be destroyed, right? So, like, do we had a solution for this? I'm thinking right now, but I don't know. I think we had one, but I'm not sure right now. Max, JD, do you remember?
I don't remember any solution to this.
Yeah, but that's
I
kind
don't
of like,
think.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, JD, say it.
I have no idea. I think we were trying to figure it out. Like, it had to have something bad happen because that's the bad ending. But we didn't want to penalize the players where the player cannot continue.
And I think we talked about a lot about how we can make it realistic, but also like kind of like fun. And I think, what was the idea with the sun again, Max? I think you mentioned how was the technology called, or JD, was it you? I'm thinking right now, like where you can extract the the sun power or something, or you can fuel it.
I think it was. I don't remember. I think it was something to do with like music, and then we're splitting the sun up into multiple
Yeah,
smaller suns.
true.
So
Yeah,
the point of that ending is we can save all the other planets, I guess. I think something like because the key to saving the the solar system is to make smaller suns so everyone can share the sun. And the sun is dying slower, but I guess this is kind of band-aid solution.
Oh yeah, and
it's okay.
this could tie into physics because, well, if the sun is dying, it reaches a state where it becomes a red dwarf, and the red dwarf is a smaller scale version. which is also still very hot, and it will emit light for a very, very long time. There's potential problems we will have to solve, like probably the light won't be enough, and so they will have to be moved closer to the other planets, and other things, other problems that will come with it. But this could serve as a first idea of how the whole situation could be
Resolved.
Yeah.
But this is just like the basic idea. But I think we talked like a lot about it. Hours. Yeah, and I think we did it in a lot more detailed way, but I can't remember everything right now. But I think we
No
wrote it
notes,
down.
baby.
Did we write it down? I hope so. I think there's a story thing, right? On the confidence.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
there is.
There's
Okay,
this-
good.
Okay. Do you know where it is? Then I can show it maybe. Or
I think it was in last week's meetings notes. It's just what we want in the game. I think Maxi wrote that.
do we want in the game?
Oh, I see 7 factions. Sun is dying. Second ending universe with minor differences. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's the same.
We probably should write up formally.
Yeah, we should probably write down a bit more about it.
It's not even been a week and we've almost forgotten.
Yeah, but do you remember? You reminded me of the music thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To be honest with you guys, I think that there wasn't anything else to it other than what we've just broken down.
Yeah.
It was just that there was lots of prototyping for the endings, and that's why it seemed like we took lots of time fleshing out the 3 storylines. Where in the end, we just found the 3 storylines through rapid prototyping, and then ditched all the other ideas we had before.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because
that makes sense.
I think we just mentioned everything that needs to be mentioned regarding
so, yeah.
these endings.
Yeah, and we talked.
The only thing I have to add is that in the end, you wanted to in that one ending, you wanted to play a song with all the different factions,
Yeah.
and then they would all bring their native instruments and that we wanted to put some way in so since the game will have 2 core mechanics, farming and combat, we wanted to put in a way where farming also, or your skill with farming or something related to farming also decides the ending or is part of the ending. So there could be ways you could
You can grow a new sun.
new sun, yeah. Let's see if that's going
I
to be
think
a thing.
the thing is we don't have to give an answer to this. Maybe we can do this, if we make a second game of this in the same universe, we could give an answer. I think it's not necessary to do it within the story.
Yeah. True.
Okay, so I think we're done with the daily stuff. So or with the recap of the week. So what do you want to do for the next week, guys? What are the goals? Your goals for the next week?
I already know what I'm gonna do. So I'm going to finish my boss probably like today or tomorrow, and I want to make a few base enemies. So this will be really quick because it's probably simple enemies like walk in a line, like go to the enemy position or like charge at them. Like simple, like the small enemies aren't gonna have that many spells or abilities. So this should be quite easy. I think I would like you guys to make prefabs out of stuff because the player should be a prefab. I need to be able to take the player into any other scene and use the latest whatever mechanics it has. So I can test if my boss even works.
The player is
interacts
already
with the
a
player
prefab.
correctly.
I'll show you tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, Max, Liam? Or is there more, JD, you want to do? Because I'm writing it down.
I have to have a think. I have to have a think about it.
Okay. All right. Let's go. Liam, Max?
I planned to do the other core mechanic next week, which means that I'm going to be implementing farming
Mm-hmm.
and everything you need to set it up. So I'm probably going to implement crops growing in different stages, so showing different pictures depending on which state they're in, light and water influencing growth of these crops. Let me just open my notes on it. Oh yeah, so planting seeds,
Mhm.
changing in different growth states, influencing the growth rate with water and light, maybe also doing some shading.
Mhm.
I also wrote down an idea, which is dynamic growth, which could mean that instead of designing specific pictures, so specific images for the plants, we could make it so that the plants will build up themselves in a way that they are procedurally generated, basically. Comes down to preference. What do you think?
I mean,
Be better?
if we can make it like cool procedurally generated, I think it's really cool because it would stand off a lot, like compared to other farming games, I think. Like if we can, let's say we have an iron plant, but every time you plant this iron plant, it looks a bit different, like slightly.
Yeah.
It would be cool.
I mean, if it looks better
Yeah.
than just static assets and it doesn't cost too much in terms of performance or memory or anything like that, then yeah, I'd say do it.
I mean, it's a good idea if we can do it, yeah. If we can do it and it looks good. But I think we need the sprites anyway for different stages. Or like,
Yeah.
probably you need smaller sprites than, like, let's say, just like a branch of one specific plant. And then you have different kind of branches and you put them together or something.
How would you do this procedurally generated? Because how it's set up currently is it's just a single sprite on the tile map. It's just layered on. How would it be procedurally generated?
It could be procedurally generated by, well, first of all, you would have to think of what should be procedurally generated. And I think the way to go is to implement bush-like plants first, like tomatoes, for instance. They don't grow on a bush, but they grow on plants that are really bushy, right? And so these plants, they consist of two things, which is a stem and leaves. And so the stem and the leaves could be the part that you're able to vary the images of that. And then you could, well, first of all, you would have to implement a stem growing up, and you would have to procedurally generate it, which means that it could turn into different directions while growing up, upwards. And then you would just have to connect leaves to the stem, for instance, and also make it so that this always looks good. So that's probably going to be the hard part.
Okay, are you so you're generating the sprite?
I'm not generating the sprite. I'm generating an entity from this. I'm generating an entity from the singular sprites. So it's not going to be in the game as one coherent sprite. I'm not pre-generating it. I'm generating it on the spot, on the fly, because it will look different for every plant, right? And if we were implementing this as sprites, then we would need to manage a sprite for every plant. Whereas in the case I just brought up, you would have to implement or draw the leaves and the stems once, keep them in memory once, but then instantiate them all the time and just put them in a different order to each other.
And now that I think about it, should we also maybe add this Terraria thing that we have, like, these different type of resources randomly? Like, they have the bronze and the coppers, or what was it? They have the tin and like where it changes, like you start the game and Sometimes you have copper, sometimes you have the other thing.
Yeah, we could do that. Write it down, Consti. We should keep this in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I can't open too many tabs. I also write on the recap right now and the goals. But yeah, okay. But I mean, it's a lot of things definitely for this week, Max. But we'll see.
I'm just
I believe.
thinking
Yeah,
how...
wait. I wasn't even done with the list. Let me look again.
So I wrote down farming core mechanics, everything you need to set it up, crops growing in different
Nice.
stages, light
Yeah,
water influences, planting seeds,
Wait.
shading,
Consti, stop.
procedure. Yeah.
I know that implementing farming might seem like lots of things to do, but
Mhm.
I already wrote out what I would have to implement feature wise,
Mhm.
and I gave these features to you right before this whole discussion. So I think connected to letting plants grow
Mhm.
are really just three different features. The first one being able to plant seeds.
Mhm.
Second one being image changing based on growth, image of the plant changing based on growth time or growth phase, and then the speed of growth being influenced by water and light content of the specific tile.
Mhm.
So that's probably going to be the biggest ticket. But other than that, I think this is implemented really quickly,
All
rather
right.
quickly. It's not about again, it's not the whole system, right? We also talked about pH and implementing that in a way. pH is not yet going to be part of anything.
Mhm.
It's just the idea to be able to grow
Eh,
things,
Yep.
and then
I mean, it's all right.
see
I
them
mean,
grow.
it's your plan anyway, right? Like, so I mean, you make the task for yourself right now. So,
Yeah.
do you think you can do it?
Also,
Sure.
yeah. Also, and a fourth ticket would be harvesting via punching the trees.
Mhm.
Also, I want to implement one particle effect first of all, so that I know about the particle system and how it works, and I want to do a dust cloud, because dust clouds could be used in various ways, right? So for dashing, for instance, you could
Mhm.
put some dust clouds.
Yeah.
For landing on the ground after you've jumped, you could put some dust clouds. For breaking the trees, you could put some dust clouds.
Mhm.
It could just probably be reused as a very general placeholder for particle effects,
Yep.
different particle effects. Also, if we are able to harvest a tree, you should also be able to
Collect
collect
yeah.
the items and drop them. So this is also going to be part of next week. And the last ticket will be designing the spaceship. So I'm not talking about doing all the graphics for the spaceship. I'm
Layout.
talking about doing like one set of graphics for the walls and one set of graphics for the floors, and then just building a spaceships out of walls and floors. And not even the real walls and floors, which are going to be in the game later, but rather
Mhm.
just placeholder graphics again.
All right.
So
Okay.
that we're not wasting time.
JD, was there something you wanted to say? Like, I think you started sometime.
You gotta think about, if you're doing individual objects in the game world, we're no longer using the tile map. You're gonna have to keep track of your own tiles.
Yeah, right. I will do that, and that's fine. I will
Also,
take care of the other objects.
it also means
I
you have. It also means you have to make sure you do the layering, because currently how it's set up is that there's a floor. There's like the actual floor. There is the ground tile, and then there's the thing above it. The actual furniture. That's currently how it's set up.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, currently I can't really imagine how I would implement this, because I'm not too well versed about the details of tile maps. But as soon as errors come up about the way I'm doing it right now, or I plan to do it, I will fix these, and then it's probably going to be very clear how to do this. because then you have the technical knowledge. So yeah, don't worry, I'm on it, but I'm probably just going to wait first if any errors are coming up.
All right. Liam, what about you? What do you want to do for the next week?
I was thinking, I'm not exactly sure, because my original thought was to just continue with the combat mechanics and do something like that, but
Will it help
since
me?
I mean, you can do if you want to, but like, what do you want to extend on it? What's the idea?
right, it would be adding more stuff. Wang, you said you wanted to do the boss fight, right?
I mean, you could do it. Since we got the core like player movements, I guess what would be
Sorry
helpful
guys,
is
I was AFK for a minute. Could you repeat what you just said?
Liam's trying
Alright.
to think of something to do.
Yeah.
And what was your idea?
What are you exactly doing in the boss fight? Are you just
I'm just making the skill. So like I'm just making the enemies right now. I'm making a few generic enemies.
How about the weapon, Liam?
yeah, that's what I was then I could make the player's weapon and a few of
You mean
those.
design them? Yeah.
Well,
Oh.
it would be design and implement then.
Okay. Yeah.
Making
So
interaction
for the
between
common
those
system,
two.
I already envisioned some of the weapons. 3, which would be the first weapon would be a fist augment. Then there would be something like a space gun, space revolver. It was called. And the last thing would be, forget the name, but I think it's something like a blade. So, and also there was another thing too where so the AI cube. I wanted to implement AI cubes which don't really use AI, but they're called AI cubes and they can automatically shoot for you and stuff like that. That would also be,
like little pets.
yeah, like exactly like a little pet that's always following you, like a drone. You could envision something like that, and it can do things for you, can do errands, can run errands for you. So yeah, that these 4 you could draw and then also implement, right?
What was
If you need any help, ask me.
What was the fourth one
okay.
again? You have blaster, fist, and the autogun, the cube. And what was the last?
Something like a face
fist,
blade,
sword,
like
gun,
a
and pet.
lightsaber.
A lightsaber. Okay.
Copyright
So like
sign.
Whoa.
Come on, Liam.
Laser
keep up.
sword.
all right.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, I
it
didn't
a
want to say- I
lightsaber,
didn't want
guys,
to say it,
or a
but-
laser?
Nondescript sword that emits light.
Lightsaber with the copyright sign.
TM.
I think.
Yeah. I'll try
Alright.
and at least put do you think those could be like generic types? And I'll just
Yeah,
make like
I
a
think
base, maybe not a base, but like a
the
starting
logic.
weapon for each of those types.
Yeah.
And, and logic
True.
for that.
So like some close combat one, a blaster, some autogun which shoots by itself.
Yeah. So like nothing special for each, but like
Yeah.
it would be your starting weapon choice.
Yeah. Okay. The Pokemon you choose in the beginning.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, we could actually do something like this. Imagine there's like, I don't know, there's like an attack on the space shuttle, and then the commander's like, you have to choose one weapon, and then I don't know, 4 of them go up, and you just choose one randomly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe
All right.
that sounds like a great idea.
It's fun
Okay.
at least.
Then
Okay.
we settled.
Yes. Yeah, and for me, yeah. Yeah, I didn't even say. So I mean, I wrote it down already. That's the thing. So I want to finish the marketing plan, and then I will show you next week. And I was thinking, I still want to make a soundtrack, because this week I was I always had like thoughts about like some winter soundtrack. I don't know. So it's gonna be a wintry one.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
I think we're good on all fronts then. So the 2 core mechanics, they are going to be implemented in the game by next week. There's also going to be a showcase of farming and combat, since you're designing the combat scene, JD, and I'm doing the farming. And if we have the soundtrack, then we have a very, very well, we have a first representation of what the prototype, of the direction the prototype's going in, right? So that's going to be great after 2 weeks.
All right.
I think we're doing fine.
Could you? Okay. We have an asset repo. So if you want to save like your music files,
Mhm.
not the WAV files, you can save the WAV files in the actual main repo, but like the actual music file itself.
The FL
And
Studio thing or whatever.
yeah, if
The
you're using
project
FL
file.
or if
I
you're using
will
whatever,
probably
if you
not
have
use
like
FL, but
LMMS.
yeah. So you
I
mean
can
like
probably still
the
convert
file,
it.
the save file, kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in another repo.
non-rendered project.
Yeah. All right. Where do you save it?
I have it in links, but you have to send me your email again later.
Okay. Sure. I will do.
I forgot. I was gonna say something else. I forgot. Oh, Maxi,
Hmm?
could you make sure you merge more often in the thing?
Mm,
Because,
why?
because if somebody's like working with you, like Liam, he needs to know what you've done. You need to tell him exactly what scenes you worked in, because if he now works in your scenes and he overwrites your scripts, someone's gonna have to delete their changes.
Stop panicking about doing things at the same time in the same scene. I don't believe you that it just messes up everything. It's probably repairable. You just don't know how.
It's
It's
not
difficult to undo
repairable.
it.
You
Let's
can't
see.
undo scenes.
I'll have a
Like,
look at it. I'll have a look at it, and then we discuss this next week. I can do more committing, even though I think that I already did enough committing. But okay, I can try that. And but I won't merge my feature earlier to main than when the feature's done, because that's the whole reason why I created a feature branch in the first place. If Liam wants to work with me, if Liam wants to join me on working on the branch, then he should switch to my branch.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Then you have something else, guys? Something else you want to discuss?
No, that's it.
All right. Then we're a bit earlier done today.
Yeah, last time
Compared
took
to the
like
last
4
time,
hours.
at least.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
All right.
Oh yeah, guys, I noticed that there's nobody saying goodbye, so I'm doing it right now. Bye.